Hello and welcome to the Red Jacket Club. My name is Andy. I'm here with my friend Brendan, and this is where we talk Cardinals baseball. And today we are going to talk about the Diamondbacks versus Cardinals series. It just wrapped up today. Today is Wednesday, April 19th. The Cardinals were able to squeak out a win and hold the series instead of getting swept by the Diamondbacks. They only lose two, which means that their record is now 8-11 going into the final week of April. Brendan, before we get into the thick of it, how are you feeling after today's massive win?
Yeah, obviously today felt really good to avoid the sweep. I mean, we're 0-6 on opening series games now. I
Yeah.
know you've been mentioning it. Chip Carey's been mentioning it. We gotta move forward with an opening series win. Get the good vibes in the dugout for the rest of the series. But I mean, with that being said, I kind of like the momentum that we do have going into the next series. But yeah, I don't know. It was a good game today, and then we will talk about the other games yesterday and Monday.
Yeah, off day tomorrow, which is probably a good thing. They did have a long stretch of games,
Yeah.
so hoping that allows them to recuperate, especially after a win this as big as it was today. But before we get into the series that was, we'll talk about the Cardinals news that there is currently. Adam Wainwright gets his first rehab start today. He went 59 pitches, he had 3 innings pitched, and he gave up a 2-run home run. The sad part about that is he's still only topping out at 87 miles per hour when it comes to his four-seam fastball. Um, and I think because of the outcome, they're going to try and give him another rehab start. It sounded like it will likely be next Tuesday, um, and allow him to kind of recuperate and get back into the swing of things after being off for so long. Pallante, he was notably sent down after a poor performance in game one of this series. The Cardinals recalled Jojo Romero, who pitched pretty well out of the pen in this series. And then Donovan, he was scratched from Tuesday's lineup. He had an abrasion on his shin, but I don't think it's that big a deal because they did throw him into the game late today. So sounds like as far as injuries are concerned, Wayno's really the only one that's fighting to get back on the team. There is DeYoung still out there. We'll see how he progresses. But Brendan, what do you think about some of these news topics as we go
Yeah,
throughout it? Yeah.
I'll pick out my most concerning one, and this one's going to be Pallante. Uh, Coming into the season, Pallante, we really broke him down. He was a big part of our season last year. You know, he made those starts whenever we needed him because at some point a starter will go down, and our starting rotation obviously hasn't looked very good. So we are really going to lean on him to be that swing man that could start for us and then eat innings in the middle of games, stuff like that. But he has just been really ineffective. Is that ineffective?
Ineffective.
And
One of them.
ineffective. That's yeah, one of them. Close enough. You get my point. But in 8 1/3 inning, he has given up 12 hits and 7 earned runs for a 7.56 ERA, which is not what you want to see. Hopefully, he's just missing spots. He needs to work on some mechanical things down in the minors. Hopefully, he looks good down there, and then we'll see him soon. Hopefully.
Hopefully, yeah, because like you said, he was a big part of the team last year. I mean, he basically took over the rotation with all the injuries that we had. And watching him struggle, I mean, the pitch that he threw, I want to say was a off speed that just landed right middle, exactly where everybody's making mistakes in this rotation or this bullpen. Happened again today with Jake Woodford, just left a sinker right in the middle of the zone, and it got
Yeah.
demolished.
Yep.
So these guys just need to remember that they need to work at the bottom of the zone, and I think that's part of the reason why Jojo Romero is taking his place because he has been working really well out of the pen down in the minors. So, yeah, unfortunate for Pallante, but hopefully he can figure some of his stuff out. And other than Donovan and Wainwright, hasn't been much news to come out. We'll get into the different aspects of the series and major implications from, in quotes, from the managers and team and everything like that. But before we do that, I do want to jump into some topics surrounding Jordan Walker. We haven't done one of these in a minute because he did kind of slump for a second. He comes back in this series and gets a couple of hits late, but let's just talk about him. Let's go into our segment of Jordan Walker Watch. So Jordan Walker, he was in game 1, out game 2, and in game 3. In game 1, he went 0 for 3, which was unfortunate. I think they gave him a night off for that reason. Then came back with a vengeance in game 3, where he went 2 for 4. He had 3 runs in an RBI single. That single was a great hit, and he did get that start out in right field. When it comes to Jordan Walker, though, obviously he had a great game today, but I have some questions because based on just some of the topics that are coming out of the clubhouse, sentiments from Ali Marmol, I was reading some articles this week, and it sounds like Marmol is getting a little frustrated with his outfield management, meaning that with Nootbaar coming back, the outfield is just crowded, and it's just interesting to hear him actually say this is difficult. Like there's so many aspects, and what he really said was you don't want to not play any of them. That's the problem. He's like, it's not fair to sit Carlson all the time and then give O'Neill more reps. He's trying to distribute it evenly, but it's hard. And so because Brendan, we haven't reached your date. I think it was May 24th. Isn't that what you said?
I feel like it was May 21st or something, somewhere around
there. Yeah. I wanted to ask you because you did come into the season saying that Jordan should be down in the minors. Should the Cardinals move him down to AAA, being that the outfield is overcrowded? Wouldn't it just give the team more reps across the board, Jordan getting more in AAA and Cardinals being able to spread out their outfield a little bit better?
It's a tough question, because when you have a young guy like this and a number one prospect, basically the number one rule for that is like they have to see reps every single day. You're not doing your job if you're sitting a number one prospect. To develop that player, he needs to see pitches every single day. Now, with that being said, I don't think he's shown enough regression to really do that. If he was striking out 30+% of the time, then maybe I could understand. But yeah, he has gone in a little bit of a slump, but I really don't think it's enough to send him down. And so unfortunately, it just looks like there needs to be just the platoon option in center field. You're gonna have to platoon Nootbaar and Carlson because Carlson hits lefties and Nootbaar hits righties. And I think you're just gonna have to play a lot of the platoon roles, and maybe O'Neill and Burleson end up being a platoon. But as far as Walker, I mean, for right now, he needs to be in the lineup pretty consistently. He'll get his breaks when needed, kind of like he did yesterday. But I don't see him getting sent down right now. They made that decision, so they should stick with it for a little while.
Yeah, you're not wrong. But I'm getting closer and closer to that camp of let's just move him down. I was so excited for him to be here, but the fact of the matter is that we have guys that are performing at the same, if not better level. I don't know how you want to put it. I really like Dylan Carlson in center, and I don't like that he's not playing there every day. And so I don't know if the solution therein is putting Jordan Walker in AAA or what, but maybe it's a trade coming soon. Who knows? But it is kind of frustrating to see the trying to be fair to every player when there's clearly better options. And I understand that Carlson's struggling against left-handed pitchers, but he has shown that he can. I think he did today. He hit right-handed pitching well today. It's a little silly that we're looking so far into the analytics and not just allowing these guys to play. So I think the theme of this episode for me is definitely going to be when are we going to stop looking at analytics? But I did want to pose that question because I'm getting close to just saying let's move him down to AAA so he can get those reps every day. And I know that that's a blow to morale, but at the same time, it's just too crowded out there.
Right now, I mean, if you want to see Carlson out in the, playing every single day, he has a 551 OPS right now. I mean, he is not producing. And I know
But
Walker
he's
right now
not
has.
playing.
Well, yeah, but I mean, you got to take the most of your opportunities. Like
Yeah.
if you put him out there and he doesn't produce,
Well,
like
that's the entire team too. It's not just Dylan Carlson. That's the other thing.
yeah, yeah, I don't know. I personally don't see Walker going down because
No, I don't either.
yeah,
I'm getting close to that camp. Like I can
yeah.
have an opinion, Brendan.
Yeah, yeah, I know it, and yeah, I had a very strong opinion
Yeah.
before the season that he should stay down there. It's kind of funny how he flipped a little bit.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. The outfield is such a tough situation, and I mean, I kind of feel Marmal's pain where like they all could be starters on like every single other team in the league, but um, for right now, they just kind of have to deal with being platoon guys until one of them really steps up.
Yeah, for
You
sure. And
know.
I hope that Dylan does because today he had a great game. And like I said, if I feel like if he's getting more reps, that he will continue to have games like he did today. But hoping that Jordan also continues to have games like he did today. I mean,
Right.
2 for 4, an RBI, 3 runs. He was on base a lot. He stole. He almost. I mean, he got a there was a pickoff, but he was already halfway to second when the ball was thrown over. So
Nice.
he's definitely worth keeping on the team. It's just I guess I'm trying to figure out how we can best manage our outfield, and maybe I'm wrong. We'll see. But definitely wanted to ask you since we did kind of flip flop in our positions.
Yeah, yeah, it's an interesting conversation for sure.
Let's talk about the series that was because I mean, there's a lot to talk about, especially with us losing the series but having such a big third game. Brendan, why don't you give me your quick recap?
All right. So game one, Cardinals dropped this one 6-3 after giving up a 5 spot in the 7th inning. Pallante inherited some of Flaherty's base runners who came around to score after a grand slam by Pavin Smith, I don't know either one, which is unfortunate for Flaherty because he looked really good in this one. You saw his reaction in the dugout whenever Pallante gave up that grand slam, and Flaherty was like, "I can't believe it," he felt really good that day. So the unluckiness keeps coming for Flaherty, but he'll be there. He'll get there. Just be a little patient. Offense strung together 6 total hits in this one, and Contreras had 2 of those hits. And after the game, Pallante was demoted, which we talked about earlier. Game 2, what an unfortunate game this one was. It was just sad as we drop it 8-7. Monty looked really strong early. However, he gives up a double off a bouncing pitch and then surrendered a 3-run home run that really opened up the game. The Cardinals continued to fight back, though, but just come up short after scoring 3 runs in the 9th. Bullpen looked pretty good. Contreras hits 2 bombs in this one. And then moving on to game 3, finally a breath of fresh air for the Cardinals. They avoid being swept today by putting up 14 runs on 13 hits. I mean, come on, it was Madison Bumgarner, so we kind of expected that. You talked early in the Sunday episode. He's kind of washed up, which is totally true. We saw that today. He was talking smack to Contreras, which is really annoying. And Willson continued his hot streak with 2 hits in this one. Tommy was a single away from the cycle. Gorman hit that grand slam, and multi-hit games from Carlson and Walker feel really good. Zack Thompson continues his hot streak, man. Still hasn't given up an earned run this season, and pitching overall looked pretty good while we look forward to the long-form recap.
Yeah, for sure. It was an interesting series, and I guess, like I said, the overall theme is of my opinions on this series is just when are we going to stop looking at analytics so hard? I mean, I get that they get us somewhere, but I mean, looking at what happened with Pallante, I don't understand the decision there. So we did say Jack pitched pretty well. He didn't want to come out of the game, and like he said, if you ever want to come out of this game, why are you even playing? So he wanted to stay in there. He wanted to finish business, but they did go to Pallante. And going into the game, he was in 7.1 innings pitched. He had a 4.94 FIP and a .370 BABIP, batting average on balls hit and play. So I just like there was no reasonable thought on that he was going to get out of that easily. I mean, they were going to score runs. I can't remember how many outs there were when he came in. I think there was only one.
No, there's no outs.
There were no outs. So that's the other problem. At least one run was going to score, but he let all four in. And I just don't get going to him. I mean, the other thing is there were two lefties coming up, and we've been talking about Zack Thompson being amazing. Why don't you go to Zack Thompson there?
That's a good point. Yeah, I didn't really think about that. I don't know if did he pitch the game before or something, maybe?
I don't remember.
But then again, it's like, who cares? Just let them, like, guys can pitch 2 games in a row. It's not a big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. I really didn't look into that decision much. My only thought is, like, maybe they were looking at last year's stats or something, and they just liked his ground ball rate.
They definitely said that the ground ball rate was a big point of putting him in there, yeah.
Yeah, so I guess that was probably the driving factor there. But, yeah, with lefties coming up, I mean, you don't want Pallante in the game. It's one of your last guys you probably want. But, yeah, Zack Thompson would have been a weapon in that spot. But, yeah, just an unfortunate game here. I mean, we still did give up a first run in the first inning.
Yep.
That was Flaherty.
It was like 2 doubles or a triple and a double or something crazy like that.
Yeah, something. But yeah, it I don't know. It seemed like we were doing well, and then that big spot in the 7th just killed us. But the good thing to take out of it is we did fight back for 2 runs in the 8th. So like whenever we do get scored on, it seems like we have been like doing our best to come back as much as we can, which is a good sign.
Yeah, and Willson finally broke out. I mean,
yeah.
I was getting tired. I mean, I even think Redbird Rants put out an article saying, I don't want to say that it was Redbird Rants because I can't remember which one.
Yeah.
But it was like, it wasn't a big outlet like MLB.com or the Post-Dispatch or something. But they said, should we start worrying about Willson? And I was like, why? He's like literally a minute from breaking out. He kept saying, it's just my timing. I know what it is. I just need to figure it out.
Yeah.
And he had 2 doubles, big RBI. And then Burleson's late inning homer wasn't enough to kind of get the momentum back in our side. But I mean, the Cardinals also had just been falling into bad luck. We can talk about the bad luck that came in game 2.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
I mean, hell, what is bad luck? Well, first of all, I read something. I'm pretty sure it was a quote from Montgomery saying that was a good curveball. I want to know in what world that's a good curveball. I guess the fact that it was down was good.
I guess.
But Nick Ahmed just putting a pin in exactly what is going on in the Cardinals season so far and hitting a ball off the ground for a double to score, I think 1 or 2. I can't remember.
I believe it was 2.
Yeah, all these games just frustrating blur. But yeah, I mean, Monty was pitching all right, and then in that 4th inning he just completely blew up, let in 7 earned runs. There was and then the double that was heard around the world just struck and hit us right to our core.
Yeah, once I saw that, because I was able to watch this one. Once I saw that, I just knew that MLB would have a ton of fun with it. Which there were some pretty good pictures out there. There was one picture of like the ball on the ground and like him swinging, and it was just like snapshot, and it was like he hit a double off of this, and it was pretty good. Nick Ahmed, super unfortunate. And then I believe it was the next batter, Moreno, hit that 3-run home run, and man, that just that put a big I don't know, dagger in us, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
Especially because it was the 4th inning. You know, if this would happen a little bit later in the game, then it's like, you know, whatever. But we need to stop using our bullpen as much as we have been. That's kind of the unfortunate thing.
Yeah. Yeah, our bullpen. That's the other good reason we have our good thing about having an off day tomorrow is that the bullpen does get some rest.
Yeah.
One thing that did come out of this, the double heard around the world again, Goldschmidt, he kind of stepped up and said something to the media that I mean, you don't really hear from Goldie unless he walks off the game or does something big in the game. There aren't a lot of quotes that I see from him. I don't know,
No.
but he took a stand and said it's frustrating. I'll read his quote exactly. This is a quote from Goldschmidt, said by Ali Marmol, because Goldie came up to Marmol after that happened, and he was like, you know what, this is frustrating. He said, but it's bound to turn at some point. And that's how our clubhouse feels, is what Marmol said. It's frustrating, but at some point, our luck's going to turn.
Yeah.
And I mean, it started to turn late in that game. Willson finally gets his first home run, which was a big home run, I think like 440 feet.
Yeah.
And then he hit a second late in the game to literally try and win this game for the Cardinals. And then unfortunately, they just fall short. But that momentum finally kind of snowballed into a really good game today. Were you able to watch the game today at all?
Not much, honestly. I watched a little bit early, but I had stuff all afternoon to do. So
Yeah, today was obviously an offensive explosion is the term that kept going around the internet, and
yeah,
notably Motter over Gorman. Obviously, we're doing lefty BS and making sure that
yeah,
Gorman doesn't face Baumgartner, which doesn't really make sense to me. But um, do you have any thoughts on that before we get too far?
yeah. I do actually. I was just thinking that too. It's like if I don't know how is he gonna ever get good against lefties? Because one day you would like him to be in the lineup every single day.
Hmm.
If you can't even throw him out there against Madison Bumgarner, it's like just put him in the freaking lineup. And that's I really like analytics a lot, and a lot of times I do agree with them. But sometimes, like you're saying, it's like sometimes we just look way too into it. It's like it's Madison Bumgarner, a soft throwing lefty. The dude does not have the slider like he used to. Like, let Gorman give it a shot against the lefty, because, like, do you want him to only hit righties his whole career? Because he's just going to get worse and worse the more he doesn't see lefties.
Yeah, and you're right. I mean, what better game to do it than against Madison Bumgarner? And he does come into the game later, but it's to pinch hit against a righty. So, yeah, I mean, I'm still gonna say it, like part of this part of the reason I think that we may be running into some of these issues early is that we are just way too into analytics. And I know that that was the whole reason we were bringing Ali onto the team, or making him the manager. They had said that Schilt wasn't into analytics as much as Ali, so they just basically replaced him so that they could have a more analytically minded manager. But I don't know. I hope that something kind of twists and turns around, because it just seems like we're going way too far into it. But I guess it worked today because there was that offensive explosion. Tommy was a single away from the cycle, like you mentioned before. Um, and Gorman did have a big grand slam. It was apparently his first at bat with the bases loaded, and he just lit up a home run. So that was really cool.
Yeah.
And then the other big memeable moment, we had one in game two with the double, but then Madison Bumgarner didn't like the way that Willson Contreras swung at one of his pitches, and Madison Bumgarner is going to be Madison Bumgarner, and he's just going to yell at the batter because he's a little hot-headed. So,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah. That dude, I don't know. That guy's got to chill out a little bit.
he's
If he
just an old
was,
school pitcher.
yeah. Yeah. And he's gotten, I'm pretty sure he's been one of those guys that gets pissed if, like, you bat flip on him or something. And Wilson fouled the ball off super hard, straight back. And you could tell by his mannerism, Contreras was like, I should have hit that
Yeah.
450 feet. And of course, Bumgarner takes offense to it. It's like, get over it, dude. You fouled it off. Like, you got what you wanted. And then I like that Contreras pimped the shit out of the walk. He backflipped the walk, which I
A
liked a
bases
lot.
empty walk.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
it was pretty funny. Yeah, I mean, I was at when we went to Los Angeles and San Francisco back in 2019. We went to a game at AT&T Park, and Bumgarner was Bumgarner still on the Giants then? Does that make sense?
when?
Back in 2019, I guess. I
No.
mean, he would have had to have been, because he
No,
was
he's on
he
the
was the one
Giants.
yelling at Max Muncy.
He was not on the Giants then.
I'm pretty sure he was. I don't mean to put a halt on the thing, but I'm pretty sure it was Bumgarner versus Muncy.
Okay, what? That was his last season.
Last season there. Okay, yeah. And Muncy sent a ball into McCovey Cove, and he looked at it for quite some time. And Madison Bumgarner did not like that. So,
Of course not.
Bumgarner becomes very viral when he yells at batters for trying to hit baseballs. So,
yeah.
And I guess we've talked about him enough. We both agreed that because the lineups were pretty haphazard throughout this series, that there was really only one guy that we could say was the player of this series, and who else would it be other than Willson Contreras? In games 1 and 2, he had 2 home runs, he had 2 doubles for 4 extra base hits. He was 4 for 9, like big first 2 games, and then you're like, can it happen a third time? And today he continues. Yeah, he went 2 for 3. He had 2 runs today, an RBI, 2 walks that he pimped one of them. Yeah, Willson was just great this series. It was a breakout series for him. He really needed it. The team needed it. That was part of the weakest link of the lineup. Is you got those 3 guys. You got Arenado, you got Goldschmidt, you got Contreras, and 2 of them were playing really well. They aren't really hitting for power right now, but not having Willson on track at the same time as them was really kind of hurting us.
Yeah, it's good to see. I think it was last episode that I mentioned that he had a really slow spring start. So I was like, well, it could just be a slow regular season start. And it's starting to look like that's all it was. And I know he can't keep up this pace forever, but, as long as he's getting his timing down and that confidence back, that's really the main thing.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that it's coming. And you could tell the whole series, he was just trying to be Willson. Like he was really energetic when he threw out one of their players at second. It was a great throw down to second. Getting in Baumgartner's head with that whole interaction. I said it today on Twitter. I was like, I'm happy that he's a Cardinal because I would hate watching him on any other team. He would just be so annoying.
Oh yeah. Yeah, he's definitely that guy that's like when he does certain things and I don't know, if it was an opponent, you'd be like, dude, just get over yourself. Yeah. But when he's on your team, it's like it just feels nice because the Cardinals aren't a team, to do any of those exciting things and like live in the moment and get hyped for things. I mean, I don't know if you saw Gorman round the bases after his grand slam. It looked like he just hit his his 30 or 300th home run, or I don't know, a home run that doesn't even matter.
Yeah.
I couldn't think of
his second home run of his career.
Yeah, It just looked like it was whatever, and it was kind of funny because it was a huge grand slam. Yeah. But no, it's cool because Willson kind of brings that to the Cardinals, and we haven't seen that in a really long time.
For sure, yeah. Yeah, and I want to kind of point something out that before we started recording last episode, we were going back and forth on who we would pick in terms of our player of the series, and I wanted to say Willson. He did not have a good series offensively anyway. And I wanted to say, I was like, this guy is a minute from breaking out. Yeah. And I don't want to say I told you so, but I think I told you so.
Yeah, I didn't let you. I said no.
Yeah, go with Arenado. Arenado.
Go with the safe pick. Yeah.
Yeah, right. And I mean, I'm just so happy. I'm glad that he's finally breaking out, and hopefully he continues that in Seattle. And I think we should start talking about Seattle because there's some interesting matchups coming up. Starting Friday, Steven Matz faces George Kirby. Then game 2, Mikolas is versus Luis Castillo. That game scares me a lot. And then Jack Flaherty tries to jump back into the mix against Chris Flexen. And games 1 and 2 look a little bit more in our favor than games 1 and 3 are a little bit more in our favor than game 2. What are your quick thoughts just based off of the pitching matchups going into Seattle?
Well, Seattle traded for Luis Castillo last year, and he's been nothing but good for them. Other than that, George Kirby, he's obviously a solid pitcher. I really don't know tons about him. Chris Flexen is just, I don't know, not great. Chris Flexen has a 7.79 right now ERA, and he's 0-3. So that's just a quick glance at that. But I do want to talk a little bit about standings. We're actually tied with Seattle. So Seattle's 8-11, and we're 8-11. And I don't know if you remember, but I asked you, like, hey, if Seattle won this year, would you be surprised? Like, won the World Series? And that was in our our prop bets episode, because we were looking at odds to win the World Series, and we were tied with them coming into the season. So they're in a very similar boat as we are. They know they're better than their record shows, and we're the same exact way. And I mean, the stats across the board look super similar. I mean, they're 4-6 in their last 10. We're 5-5. I don't know what this stat means, but our expected win-loss record is 9-10, and their expected win-loss record is 10-9. So we've got two really similar teams, but I am nervous, as you said, about their pitching. Their starting pitching looks to be a lot better than ours.
Well, Luis Castillo, he's sitting at a sub-1 ERA. He's got a 2-0 record, and he's got a sub-1 WHIP. So he's just not letting anybody on. I know that a big part of that is contributed to his last start. He pitched really well. I'm interested in Game 3. It's kind of a similar situation to today's game, where it's a pretty favorable pitching matchup. I thought that the whole series against the Diamondbacks would be a little bit more favorable to the Cardinals, but I didn't realize that our starting pitching was going to do so poorly. That's what I'm a little concerned about in games 1 and 2. Excuse me. Because Matz and Mikolas have been struggling, and this Seattle offense will pounce on struggling pitchers. My goodness. And so, this offense is a sleeper offense. I feel like obviously, I feel like our offense is a sleeper offense. It's
very similar teams.
Yeah. It's somebody's going to wake up in this series. That's just the facts. I mean, one of these teams is going to come out of this series a hell of a lot better than the other. I hope it's the Cardinals, but it definitely could be the Mariners. So
I think that so Luis Castillo right now has 26 strikeouts in 24 innings, so he's striking guys out. But also he has yet to give up a home run, and he's also been really good at keeping the ball in the ballpark his whole career. But I will say, I just want to call it now that my guy Gorman's going to go yard against him.
Oh yeah,
that's my hot take
like that
for now.
I like that. And another thing that the Cardinals have, they may have a little bit of an edge because some of these guys have faced Luis Castillo from him being in the NL Central. So hopefully that plays in their favor. We'll see. He has been very good. Anything else on the Mariners?
No, I think you covered it. I think it's just going to be a fun series. I don't know, maybe we'll surprise ourselves and actually win 2 out of 3.
That would be incredible. I'd like to win again the first game of the series. Hopefully Steven Matz can really, really keep his fastball high and his curveball or slider low, because that has been killing him. He's just been living in the middle of the zone, and I don't see how he's going to see success with that. But we'll finish there. There have been some things going on around the league that I'd like to talk about before we wrap up. Do you want to just jump into it, or you want me to?
I'll just talk about a few extensions really quick. Pablo Lopez got extended by the Twins, 4 years, $73 million. They were known for acquiring him in the offseason from Miami Marlins. Pretty good trade for them. They gave up Luis Arias. He seems to fit in with Miami really well. But anyway, Pablo Lopez will be with the Twins for 4 more years. And then a very interesting one here, Hunter Green for the Reds, which we all should know him by now. He's been like their highly touted prospect that was up a lot last year, and he started on the big league club this year. He got 6 years, $53 million, which is such an odd contract for a guy.
Highway robbery, dude.
Yeah. Well, it's just weird. It's like he's not betting on himself at all. It's like he's like,
well, what are his agents doing after watching Rodon get the contract that he got?
Yeah, it's a good point. 6 years basically buys him out of his first free agency year. So he's kind of like, he just wants to get the bag early and get it over with or something. I don't know. It doesn't make any sense on Hunter Green's side. Makes all sense on the Red side. You got nothing to lose with that contract.
Nope.
But just
Less than
good.
10 million a year.
Yeah, it's wild. I don't know. If he's really the guy that they thought he was gonna be, then he's gonna be worth way more than that in 6 years.
Yes, I agree. Two big stories that came out just recently. I had to write them down. I'll start first with the high note stuff. Clayton Kershaw gets his 200th win. He falls in with some of the great pitchers of this game with that. I'm a very big Clayton Kershaw fan because I'm a quasi Dodger fan also. I do hop on that bandwagon a lot. But I do like Clayton Kershaw a lot also. I just like the way he plays the game. I like that he's just completely focused on baseball basically his entire life. And I like him as a pitcher, and I'm glad that he reached that milestone. Further solidifies his spot, I think, in Cooperstown based off his career. And yeah, just great things for Clayton Kershaw there. Any thoughts on Kershaw?
No, not really. Just great pitcher.
Great pitcher.
Great pitcher. Hall of Fame.
Another great pitcher was ejected today for using.
I did not
stick
see this actually. So this is interesting.
Phil Cuzzy threw out Max Scherzer. I can't remember what inning it was in, but they pulled him aside because they felt some sticky stuff on his hand. They told him that his hand was too sticky and that he needed to wash it off. This happened recently with a Yankees pitcher also. I can't remember which one it was, but the umpires have been saying that these guys' hands are too sticky. And after the game, after he was ejected, Scherzer said, "I swear on my children's lives, I'm using rosin, and it's sweat and rosin that you are feeling." And they just didn't buy it. They thought he was using too much of a sticky substance, and they kicked him out of the game.
Yeah, I'm just reading the quotes now. It says that Scherzer added that he anticipated a substance check before the fourth inning, so it must have been in the third inning, saying he'd have to be an idiot to apply anything else. Yeah, that's super interesting. I didn't even see that. And Scherzer, of all guys, I mean,
right.
I don't know. He's obviously smart enough to know not to try it, but yeah, just an interesting situation. I'm curious what'll come of it.
I mean, it's an automatic 10 game
Holy
suspension for sticky
crap.
stuff. Yeah, I have no doubt that this will get appealed before his first start.
Yeah.
Or his next start. And yeah, it's super weird because, like you said, it's Max Scherzer. What reason does he have to use sticky stuff? I mean, I don't think he's shown any regression this season. I don't think there's any reason for him to do that. So super weird situation. But the other thing to note, and something that I think Talkin' Baseball's Twitter page threw out there, is that there have been 3 guys who have been thrown out of a game for sticky substances this year, and they were all thrown out by Phil Cuzzy. So he must have a vendetta or some type of high horsiness.
Yeah,
because
well, that's an umpire for you. That's
welcome to the show.
Yeah.
For sure. And yeah, so that's an interesting situation. I can't wait to see what comes of it. And then the only other thing that was kind of interesting, but it's not being implemented in major leagues. It's getting implemented into the Atlantic League or Pacific League. I sound like an idiot because I don't know, but MLB is implementing the designated pinch runner. So there will be a guy who's just basically like how we play in our league. If there's less than 2 outs or there's 2 outs or something, and you want to take the catcher off the bags, or I don't think that that's the rule, but that's kind of the same thing. Is that like you played growing up? If there's 2 outs and there's a catcher on second, put your designated runner in, and
you can use them for anyone though, right? Like first
baseman.
I
think so. Yeah, I think it's everybody.
Yeah, it's basically like a re-enter rule for a starter, but he doesn't have to run. I guess you can only use it once. I don't know. I don't really have much of an opinion on it.
It's kind of goofy.
Yeah, who thought of that,
I don't know.
That's the weird thing. It's like,
what's the benefit?
Yeah, it's like, just, I don't know. Hopefully that doesn't come to one day be like, well, if your first baseman gets on, then you can use like a courtesy runner so that we have more speed in the game, kind of thing. And then I don't know. I don't really see that happening. Hopefully it just kind of stays as a experiment and then maybe fades
away.
off.
Yeah, it's pretty goofy, but worth mentioning, I guess.
Yeah.
But that has been the podcast. It's a happy note to end on, definitely in Game 3, but still a lot of questions on how this team is going to be after April is over. They head into Seattle on Friday again, 8-11. We'll see if they're able to figure some stuff out, because they're gonna have to some way or another soon. Anything else before we wrap up there, Brendan?
That's it.
That is it. If you have listened this far, thank you for listening. Please like, share, and subscribe. We're trying to reach as many Cardinal fans as possible. So if you are a regular listener, we know that there are a couple of you out there.
At least two.
Please share this video with your friends. We'd like them to watch us as well. Subscribe because it helps the channel, and like because it helps the channel. If you want to find us anywhere else, we are at red_Jacket Club, basically everywhere. So find us on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, whatever you want. Cardinal content everywhere. Check out our other videos, and again, tell your friends. We want people to know about it. So thank you again for watching this far. We appreciate you for joining the club, and we'll see you next time.